everyone. Can you hear me? Oh. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday today. I know it's a full day to learn more about women and learn more about women in technology. So I just want to share with you kind of like my personal journey on how I was able to make the career transition from working in the government into a career in technology. So it hasn't been a smooth ride for me. Like some of you here today, Canada has been a wonderful country for immigrants, so myself included. It all started back in 1989, the year I was born. So I was born in Vietnam, and as I grew up in Vietnam, with my single mother, I realized that there weren't a lot of opportunities for anyone, especially women. So as a single mother, my mom really struggled to kind of just to raise me and find opportunities for herself. Luckily, when I was about 10, with the help of some relatives and family members, we moved from Vietnam to Calgary, Canada. So that's where I grew up. And I completed my bachelor there at the University of Calgary in International Relations. It has been really great. However, I just always kind of wonder and was there something more? Because as an immigrant, and my mother always taught me to kind of like try everything. She didn't have a great education, so she didn't know what career was out there in terms of technology, and she really just wanted me to have an education, and that's what I did. So I got my degree from the U of C when I was 17, and like everyone else, I was just trying to complete it. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my career. So I basically finished school, and I kind of started working for the city of Calgary. And just wanted to bring up some statistics for you here. So recently I read an article on the Huffington Post, and it said roughly 18% of computer science degrees go to women. And another statistic is that major companies like Google, Facebook, 70% of them are male. Another statistic is that less than 17% of the tech industry is made up of women. So why is this an issue? It's an issue because women, just like men, have a lot to offer, and we want to contribute to this industry. And as I was working in the government, I realized that there was a lot of things in the government that could be improved only if we use technology. And most of the position within the government included, most of the management are male dominated. So as a woman, I really had like little say on how to improve infrastructure. And so in 2012, when the city of Calgary pretty much flooded, a lot of our files were just actually stored on paper. So we lost a lot of critical files that could have been easily used and for the citizens of Calgary, only if they were stored digitally. So as a result, it kind of like sparked an interest for me in technology, and it's something that I realized that I could change and I could be involved in. So I took a huge risk. I kind of like began to understand that, so I have certain skills like in marketing, business from my education at U of C, but then I realized I lacked a lot of technical experience like coding, computer programming, and so on. So I try and put like everything together, and I realized that I have a lot of skills that could be useful towards the tech industry. And just to kind of go back into the future, so currently I work in kind of like the Redmond area where Microsoft is, and we have in the Seattle area. I'm Canadian, by the way, but I've been living in the US and working there for about 3 years or now. So a lot of the things that I create, I actually use a lot of my prior skills that are not very technical, because I use a lot of my marketing skills to, as a content producer, to create videos, to create, commercials for Microsoft or Alaska Airlines, Boeing, Amazon, so on. And also, I write a lot of scripts that are technical. So even though I work in tech, a lot of my major skills are actually non-tech. So that's something that I didn't understand before when I was entering the industry. I was really nervous and I was really scared, because I thought, I don't know how to code, and how am I going to transition into this industry? So I did a lot of research, and then back in 2012, I took a huge risk, and I realized that I need to make a decision now in order to kind of move forward and get a degree in tech. And as most of you know, Calgary is not very a big technology hub. Oil and gas is the primary industry there. So as a woman, it was very difficult to kind of like go out and find a career in tech. So I decided the best way was to get a master's degree. So I applied to a school in New York. So off to New York I went, and New York has been a really wonderful place for me to kind of learn more about myself and learn about what I'm passionate about. So in New York, I kind of started immersing myself in pretty much everything tech-related and non-tech-related. And as I was going to school in New York, I started kind of like preparing myself for my career when I finished. So I started researching all these names that are tech-related on LinkedIn, on Indeed, and then I would read the description and see what they need. So for example, social media manager, you need experience on how to use Marketo or how to use Facebook, Twitter, and it's not just using it as a user, you need to know the back end on how to like reach the consumer. And that's something like I read in the description, and then I realized, okay, maybe I could do that. And then other technical job description like graphic designer, UI, UX, I read that, oh, you need to learn Adobe, you need to know HTML, CSS, and then I realized, okay, maybe I could do that. And then I just kind of researched everything, and I came down with a list of things that maybe I could do, and then things that I should improve on. So I realized like where my skill gaps are, where I lack, and where I was strong at. So I kind of like made a list throughout my university career as I was going through all these job search in New York. And New York was a wonderful place for me to kind of try everything. And so in New York, I did kind of like, as a Canadian working in the US, I was on student visa. So what I did was I kind of like, you have to figure out where you're strong at and where you want to move to. So like I mentioned before, I had tons of jobs. As an immigrant, I actually started working when I was 14. So by the time I was 21, I actually worked for 30 different companies. Now that might sound crazy, but it wasn't a choice for me. I pretty much just kind of had to work out of necessity, because it was very difficult, trying to go to school, paying for school, while trying to help my mom out. So I realized I just had to kind of work at every single job that came my way. So like I mentioned before, by 21 I was working for 30 different companies in retail, government, finance. I worked for Lego, NARS, pretty much like everything. And then I realized, okay, I had lots of jobs, but how am I going to transition into a career in technology? So in New York, I started like thinking, and I thought, okay, there's a lot of social media jobs out there that require government knowledge or retail. So I started applying for my resume, and I got a call back from a politician in New York, Benjamin Carlos, who was running for city councilman. So like many other politicians, Ben Carlos was actually great at being a politician. He was very charismatic and very nice. However, he had a hard time to kind of reaching his audience, so I realized I could support him in that way, so I started interning and working for him just as a graphic designer. So I would go out, take pictures of him, talking to the citizens, and then putting a quote and then blasting that onto social media, Twitter, Facebook. And so that was kind of like my entry point into technology. And I realized that it's kind of like a great way for me to immerse myself. And then after he won his election, he was actually running for the first time, and he won. So that kind of like gave me a boost of confidence, and I realized, hey, maybe I could, just do this and learn how to use Photoshop and just kind of like teach myself all these skills. So then I started like moving on to another NGO called INEE. So they're part of the International Rescue Committee. So basically what they do is just help a lot of refugees around the world, and the headquarters actually in New York. So I helped them with managing their website, and then I started learning coding like HTML, CSS, and then I told myself, hey, it's not that hard, it's not that difficult. So that gave me another boost, and then after that I moved on to Kaplan, which was actually printing a lot of solar energy textbooks. And with them, I combined the two skills that I gained from my two previous jobs in New York, which was to design and also to code. So with them, I kind of worked to create like online materials and curriculum and courses. So all of that experience kind of taught me that if you really want to learn something, even though there's a lot of great schools and coding boot camps out there, you can always teach yourself. So the only person that's holding you back from like getting all these careers yourself, because if you are really passionate about something, you can absolutely go out there and search on how to learn Adobe Photoshop or how to learn front-end coding. And I mean, there's a lot out there that you can learn. But I would say, even though I am working in technology right now, the main thing for me would be to continuously network. So there's a lot of organization that I've used myself. So like Women Who Code is a huge one, and that was when I kind of like learned HTML, CSS in New York, and I'm sure they have an organization here in Montreal as well. There's Ladies Learning Code, and I've heard Pi Ladies as well. Meetup groups, all of these amazing things will actually help you to kind of network and meet a friend or someone who's going to help you make that career transition. So in terms of education, even though I do have a master's degree, I realized that like a lot of things you can learn just from online. So you can either go through a boot camp. There's a great one here called Decode Montreal, or you can also just go online. There's Codecademy, Udemy, Treehouse, all these great places that you can learn for free, or you can just pay very little amount of finance, because I'm a huge fan of open source learning. So it's a great way for you to kind of immerse yourself and learn. So another thing is that helped me to make the career transition was creating a portfolio. So this is an example of what my current company does. So we do a lot of digital media, a lot of video production, and basically you can either have a portfolio in print or you can have one online. The most popular thing would be just to kind of have all your portfolio online, and then that way other people can see you. You can just send out a link and they can go through it and see what you've created. Otherwise, you can have a print portfolio. So I personally, I like the print portfolio just a little bit more because there's just something tangible and something that's unique. I mean, now everyone has a website, but when you go to an interview and you have a print portfolio, it just shows that you've kind of like put thoughts into it, and you can have like material that make you kind of like stand out to your employer. So basically with the print portfolio, you can just create all your best top 10 and put that out there and bring that with you to meet, whether it's a client for a freelance gig or a potential employer. So again, thank you so much, and I know it has been a great time for me here in Montreal. Like I mentioned before, I currently work in Seattle area, and pretty much like my tech career has brought me to all over the world. The wonderful thing about technology is a lot of companies will actually let you work remotely. So I work remotely from Iceland, France, Portugal, and then I work for my company in New York and Seattle as well. So I think it's a really great time for women and men to transition into a career in technology and kind of work together and break this barrier and let women have a voice to be involved as well. And we can create many more wonderful things together, whether it's digital or print material. So thank you so much. And you can contact me on LinkedIn and email me if you have any questions. Thank you.